I will shut up and do the intro.
We've established this. You can't shut up and do the intro.
That's true. Son of a bitch. Welcome to Dead Headspace. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and all other major platforms. I'm your host, Patrick R. McDonough, joined always by my co-host, Brennan LaFaro. Say hi, Brennan.
Hello, everybody.
And today we are talking with author and founder of Fright Girl Summer, V. Castro. Hi, V.
Hi, how are you?
We are pretty great. I don't know how the weather is there, but it's pretty nice in Jersey right now.
So it's decent. I mean, summer is pretty much over. Yeah, it's decent. But, you know, there's enough sun now that I've got my little drinky drink here because it is 6:30 p.m. in the UK, which is official, happy hour time. So cheers. Cheers to everyone.
Cheers.
Bottoms
Me and Brennan are Irish, so really anytime you want to drink is happy hour time.
Especially since March. That shit went all out the window in March. It's 1:30. That's good enough,
You're like, well, what else are we gonna do? Really? There's when you're stuck in your house 24 hours. It was rough. It was rough.
My brother invited me to go up to Boston to see the Dropkick Murphys for St. Patrick's Day, and I was like, oh, cool, we can't see them and have a good time. So let's kick it back to our base question that we actually didn't get to talk about last time we had you on with Sonora, which is, what got you into horror? Can you take that any way you want?
Okay, yeah. I mean, obviously this is a question I get asked a lot, and I probably will sound like a broken record, but Mexican American, we have so much folklore and urban legends and so many tales I grew up with that I feel like I've always grown up around scary stories and creepy characters, and it's just something it's always been there, and it escalated to like books and films, and then I just said, you know what, I'm gonna have a crack at it. I love it so much, why can't I? And also, I love it so much, why can't I not write horror but also incorporate the things that make me and my culture and where I come from in South Texas. So
I love that, because that's why I started writing too. I used it as a positive outlet. I was dealing with a lot of not okay people in my life, and I was like, well, I don't want to do anything dumb, so I like writing. Let's see where it goes. And I killed them in my stories.
Hey, that's all right.
Brennan, let's go to you, sir.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to. The last time we talked to you, before you had to leave us, you were telling us about some of the stories that you had coming out in different anthologies over the summer, in Graveyard Smash and also in the Grindhouse anthology, Worst Laid Plans. And I couldn't help but think of that story when you said one of the big things that got you into horror was just the folklore. And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the folklore behind your Grindhouse story. And I don't want to try the title because I feel like I'm going to botch it horribly.
The Cucuy of Cancun.
I would have botched that horribly.
Yeah, the Cucuy of Cancun. Well, a cucuy is just a boogeyman. It's in it could every culture has some sort of boogeyman. So I just wanted to twist it, though. The cucuy is an actual living, breathing being, and a being that has lived through the changing earth, and who has a personality and desires and needs and wants, and also female. So I just wanted to do something unique, and I had the idea listening to a Depeche Mode song, and I just wrote it.
Can we talk about that story real quick, Brennan, before you carry on?
Yeah, without too many spoilers, of course, because that anthology has only been out like a month. But my immediate impression is, you telling us the little bit behind that folklore, like that seems absolutely tailor-made to your writing style. But I wonder now, is your writing style tailor-made to that instead?
You know what? I have a few things. So I have a few things coming out in 2022. Mestiza Blood, my short story collection. You're going to get a lot more of that, of the different urban legends and characters I've encountered growing up. I think it goes back and forth. I think it swings. And then the next book coming out, Goddess of Filth, in March. That's a goddess from Aztec mythology, and again, taking those characters and breathing life into them. Yeah, it's something I want people to say, hey, wow, that's really interesting. I never knew that about the culture. I've never heard of this character. I've never heard of this creature. And then do more research, and then just kind of expand their knowledge of Mexican culture. And in that way, we can kind of be united. We can learn more about each other and have more understanding, because we're just so divided right now, you know?
Yeah.
And I think horror, you know, can really bring people together. I love horror. And yeah, so there is one, there'll be an announcement soon in the next few weeks that I can't wait for you guys to read. And that will be connected to the Kukui of Cancun.
Ooh. Wow, there's a lot to pick from what you just said. So before my mind wanders, that short story, I'm not going to attempt to say too, because I'm an idiot and I'll mess it up. But I've never experienced this. And Brennan, tell me if this was your experience reading it too. I've never experienced this before, where I'm reading a fictional story and I'm not saying, this seems like I know the author well enough to think like this is definitely traits of them. Not that, but physically I pictured you, Violet, as that character. And I don't know why. I just like, I've talked with you enough where I feel like and I've heard you in interviews enough where I'm like, I could see her just like having her drinks, lying around. Fucking around.
I know she's really a man eater.
Violet will, and I mean this in no disrespect. Violet will do whatever the fuck she wants for pleasure, and then she'll just rip their fucking heart out.
Yeah, pretty much. That's me to a T.
I really enjoyed that. I did see traits of you in Hairspray and Switchblades, where basically, and this might sound cliche, but basically you are a woman that doesn't take shit from people, and I wanted more from that story. I wanted it to be a big, thick book because I wanted to know so much about all those characters.
Well, I hope that I can continue the story. And what I like to build in my writing is kind of a big, almost a universe. And so a few of my tales will be interwoven. So at the moment, I'm writing a story called The Pink Agave Motel, which is mentioned in Snake Hips in Sed de Sangre. It's the last story, and that's going to be connecting a few of my short stories, and that's going to be a book. I don't know how big it's going to be, but yeah, that's going to really bring all of those women together. Wow. Kind of like what you've seen in Hairspray and Switchblades, where you do get a group of women together from different walks of life, and you know, to defeat a common villain.
Do you guys mind if we talk about Rewind and Die series real quick? Just because Brennan is way more updated on that than I am. I'm only 4 books in. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, that was me making noise. I'm only 4 books in. Yours was the first. I read Jessica Guess's second. After that, I'm finishing up Zach Ashford's Soul Survivor. Oh, I read one story from the first one, the Midnight Exhibition.
Yes, yes.
I read Philip Fricassi's story because we had him on, and that was such a weird story in a good way. And I'm reading also next Fright Food by Nico Bell.
Yeah.
I just Food Fright, thank you.
Yeah.
I just find it's so much fun. Like Eddie Generous is doing a really awesome job, and I saw Rich Duncan from Ink Eyes describe it to someone that asked a question, and he said that basically it's kind of, and I don't know if this was Eddie's thought process, but basically it's just supposed to resemble the feeling that you got with 80s horror VHSs.
Yeah.
That his goal?
Yeah, that's why it's called Rewind or Die.
Oh, duh. Oh my god.
Well, there's your outtake, man. Cut this shit and put it at the end.
One.
That was his thinking, and you know, Eddie's really cool, and he did all the covers, and you know, for the first, he did the cover for Sed de Sangre, and he did the cover of the logo for Fright Girl Summer, the first one. So Fright Girl Summer is going to have a few treats coming up soon, so you guys will have to keep an eye out for that.
Yep. All right, so I want to touch on a couple things you touched on before we go to Fright Girl Summer, which I definitely want to hit. Now, you had said when you were talking about your Grindhouse story that there's just so much opportunity for folklore and, to an extent, cryptids from around the world to kind of shine in different stories. And I think that's so tied to the conversation we had last time, where we said there's so many different voices that come from different experiences, different places, and have very interesting and unique things to say because of that. I think there are so many opportunities to hear about different monsters and different folktales from around the world. I mean, you can put a cool spin on vampires or on werewolves or on Bigfoot, but at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do with it because we've seen all those monsters. We've heard of it all before. But there's so much out there to be explored. And even if an author is just kind of presenting their experience with what they grew up with those folktales, it's new to so much of the audience. It's new, it's interesting, and it inspires them to do a little bit of a deeper dive. Like, I want to know more about this. I'm going to try this. Tell me if I screw it up. Kukui.
Kukui.
Kukui. All right. I tried my best, but
Kukui.
all right. Well, hey, at least I didn't miss the entire, title of Rewind or Die. That's, I'm not ahead.
Your co-host is a fucking idiot, Brennan.
I know. It's okay, man. I love you. So I do want to talk about Fright Girl Summer, though, because last time we had you on here, it was just starting to kick off. You guys were really building up the content. What was, in your experience, what was the reception like?
People have loved it. People have wanted to talk about it. I mean, we have over 20 stories on there. And there's just so much short fiction. And it's amazing how much talent we have out there in the horror community. So I think it's been a really great outlet for women that have these stories. I mean, subbing can just take forever. And you get all the rejection. And there could be a story you really love, you really want people to read, and that's what we're here for. Like, okay, hey, send it to us, and let's get it out into the world, because even if you're not published, it's good to get your name out there. You meet a lot of cool people, and that's what I like about Fright Girl Summer, is it's really bringing people together in the horror community. And again, we need that. And it's just good fun. We just want to, let horror shine. It's a fun place. It's a safe place. And that's what it's focused on.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I like how you said it's a safe place, which I have never understand the thought process of people that kind of poo-poo horror, where we all have the same thoughts, whether people want to talk about it or not. And I won't go on a tangent, but I've always found it funny that people that act like they're better than you for insert whatever reason, religious or political or class or whatever, where they just act like we're not all humans and have the same dark thoughts. We all do. I mean, think about when you're born. Yeah, it's beautiful. I cried when my son was born, but it's kind of it's a little scary, at least in the baby's perspective, I would think. So it's really awesome that you pointing that out, because I never thought of it like that. It is a safe place, and I like how most of the people in the horror community are right there with that sentiment.
Yeah, and we just want to be cool with everybody, and give people a chance, because it's easy in publishing to get discouraged. It's a long road. It's not like, flash in the pan. So you've got to really persevere, and it helps to have that community when you're feeling down, when you are that when you stumble or you come across obstacles, to know that there are people out there that have been there, that can give you advice, just say, hey man, I've been there, I know. And that really helps a lot. And I think it's helped a lot during the pandemic, because there's a lot of isolation going on. There was a lot. And for those people who are still kind of having to shelter, or, I mean, I don't think it's 100% safe. So, people are still staying away, staying indoors, and that's all right. So hopefully we can provide some entertainment and be there.
Well said. And
it's free. So, I know a lot of people are hurting financially as well. So this is free.
The first one that I read, Brennan and I actually read at the same time, was Cassie Daly's Ready or Not. And wow, the person that I would relate her to, I feel like best in tone would be Laurel Hightower.
Yeah.
Not on subject matter, but on tone, because those two they do something to you where you're just full of dread. And it's all like, us horror fans like that. And
yeah,
I think that she's someone that deserves a lot of praise too. And she's starting to get it, I noticed. And it's cool how you and Sonora are kind of, you were the ones that published your first story. You're all really good at what you do.
Really, and it was a really good, and that's exactly, why we have it, is to give people the confidence, because you're kind of unsure. And I remember the first story I sent out and I got the rejection. I was just devastated. I was so scared and had so much anxiety, and I didn't know who to talk to. But to know you can go somewhere where the people, if there's something wrong with it, it'll be handled with care. People will guide you, and that's why we're here. So I'm glad we could do that.
It took me like 6 years to get published, which I'm sure, like, I'm not bitching about it. I didn't feel like I knew my voice until I met one particular friend, and then another friend, and then it's a domino effect. So I definitely echo.
The building of confidence helps.
Mm-hmm.
You really, and also, I think a good, healthy dose of I don't give a fuck.
Yes.
Honestly, you really have to have a healthy dose of I don't give a fuck, and you need to just write what you want to write. Don't emulate any style. Don't, I tweeted this the other day, and I grew up on Stephen King, and I've watched all the films and read almost all the books. But everybody quotes that, kill your darlings. And I tweeted this: I don't kill my darlings because there aren't enough women of color in adult fiction, in horror, to be killed off. Like, I'm not going to be that person, and I don't want my women to die like that. I want them to live and to survive and kill others.
It's a really good.
So no, I don't kill my darlings. My darlings do the killing.
Well, I mean, I love Stephen King, but he's an old white guy, so I don't know. Take it for what it is. Just to kind of echo something you said about writing what you want to write, I think of this quote a lot. I love history, particularly the Industrial Revolution, and one of the biggest people that changed the world was Henry Ford, and he had a great quote. He said, "If I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses." So, I mean, if I stuck to what I thought I wanted to do or what people wanted, again, I love King, but I would still be writing like Stephen King, because that's how I started with my fiction. And who wants to read another Stephen King? There's already one, and he's everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to find your footing, find your voice, find the stories that that feel good to you.
Yeah. And, I would definitely echo your adding the ingredient of I don't give a fuck. I mean, that's actually a pretty good ingredient for most everything. I found I'm newer to this. I probably tried my hand at fiction for the first time about a year ago, so I'm still, plugging along trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing. But one of the first stories that I wrote specifically to submit somewhere, I sent out to a few people to look at, and I got great feedback from all of them. But the problem I had was that I tried to incorporate all of it. I rather than trusting my own ability to put something halfway decent together, I said, well, this person, has a published book. They must know what they're doing. And
Yeah.
this person, is a qualified editor. They must know what they're doing. And I submitted it. It got rejected. And I remember I went back and looked at it a few months ago. I said, this fucking thing reads like Frankenstein's monster. There's no consistent tone to it at all. And I would, that's my long-winded way of saying, even if you're kind of new at this, like, tell the story you want to tell, definitely look for help if you want it, if you think you might need it, but don't kill your darlings. Allow the darlings to do the killing.
Yeah, exactly. And, I agree with, like, so, everybody's like, oh, and I've had beta readers, but again, like you said, I take it with just like, okay, does it make sense? Is there any kind of, mainly are there any, what I look for are consistent notes. Like, are people picking out one thing? But if I get feedback and they're all different, I'm like, well, I'm going to stick with what I wrote. But if you keep getting the same thing, then you know that there's something wrong, I feel. But yeah, you have to just kind of go with that story, what's in your mind, your vision, and I think that helps with your confidence for one, and success, because it's authentic.
Yeah. Going further with Fright Girl Summer, now you guys recently announced that, summer is pretty much over, like we mentioned at the very beginning. It's officially September, but you guys are going to keep it going. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I don't want to tell too much, but because we're going to have a few treats next week. New logo, new stuff, more authors. And I'm going to actually continue with the Halloween and summer readings. So, I know a lot of people have enjoyed that. So I'm going to do a Halloween special, but this time I'm going to have men and women. So it'll be mixed. And then I'll do a Dia de los Muertos, which will be all Latinx.
Oh, nice.
So
That's awesome.
So if I can in time, because it's already like September 5th, get a few people to do a last minute one on the end of September, I'll do one then. But yeah, people seem to really love these readings. And it brings people joy. And I feel we need some of that.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Everybody's loving the costumes, and I want people to come together and be united.
I love it. I love hearing from people all over. I mean, you're in London right now, and you got stories from there. You got stories from your heritage, Mexican heritage, and I'm sure you have Texas stories as well, which is neat because I've never been to any of those places. So I get to hear from people directly. I don't have to rely on movies or television show or like filtered media from, like, I don't listen to the news much because I don't trust any of them. So
it's so depressing.
Yeah.
That too, yes.
Yeah, that too. A guy that I worked with, he travels around the world to work on industrial furnaces. And I said, well, because he's been in South America, parts of Europe and so forth. I'm like, well, what do you do on your days off? He goes, I just go to work and I kind of act like I live there and talk to the locals, and you kind of get to know the places. I love that answer. And that's how I feel when I talk to insert anyone. And there's so many people. Me and Brendan have talked to quite a few Australians, which I've always wanted to go there. And I kind of have ideas about the place now, but I love the time we're in right now. There's a lot of bad, but there's also a lot of good. And to bring it back to your read-ins, you get, whether you realize or not, you get to experience that, and like you said earlier, it makes us closer, and hopefully,
more understanding.
Yep, you filled in the lines.
Sorry.
Brennan, no, not at all. Brennan, do you want to talk about the? Excuse me if I'm repeating something you said, but the women that we've read this summer.
No, let's get to that in a minute. I want to add one more point to what you were kind of just talking about, and what we've really been talking about for the last 20 minutes. I grew up in a town probably about half an hour from where I'm sitting right now, and it was a very white town, very little diversity, and it just so happens that I teach in a different town. I teach and live in a different town now that's very, very similar in makeup, and I really feel like since discovering the horror community like a year or so ago, my worldview has I feel like I've learned more about the world in the last year than in the 33 years before that combined. And it's amazing at just how shut off, how unfortunately easy it is to be shut off from it. You really have to make that effort, and you could be not making that effort and not even realize it, which is another reason why, everything that Fright Girl Summer, to me, I find so important. You and Sonora are real, absolutely. You and Sonora, kind of had yourselves established as pillars of the community before, but now you've kind of put this up on your shoulders, acting as its caretakers, and really established yourselves as those people that marginalized voices can come to, and they're going to be amplified by you.
Yeah, absolutely.
To the biggest degree that you can pull it off. And I just think that's respectable as hell.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, because we will add one little thing. I will tell you, we're adding a non-binary kind of to include non-binary authors.
Oh, nice.
Because it is tough if you're non-binary. It's so it's kind of, we want to be welcoming to marginalized genders where they won't suffer abuse, or and it's just a welcoming place, a platform to say, hey, if we have a writer who's not sure about a story that explores their identity, hey, we're not going to tell you, no, you can't do this or this or this or this. No, we're welcoming, and we want to, be those open arms. And I think
that's great.
We can learn from each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's amazing. To add to one of Brendan's points is simply for the facts that he pointed out. I moved out of my town that was similar to his, from Massachusetts to South Jersey. I can't tell you who lives here because I kind of keep to myself. But I did notice over the last year it's been brought to my attention just how prevalent toxic masculinity is. I didn't realize how bad it was, and I never was able to articulate it from my childhood either, because there'd be guys that would joke around, and I remember I was 5 or 6 playing a James Bond game, and they're making jokes about bondage and calling you all sorts of homophobic slurs and just profanity, and I didn't like it when I was a little boy. I didn't like it in high school. I didn't like it in college. I don't like it now. I never was able to pinpoint it until guys like Alan Baxter or women such as yourself or Sonora or whoever else were like, this is what it is and this is how bad it is. So it helped me. I think that it's helped me become a better person, and it's going to make me a better father and a better husband. So I have you to thank for that amongst other people.
Oh gosh, thank you. I take no credit, honestly, because for those kind of concepts to sink in, you've got to be open to it.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that men are always taught, don't cry, don't be a baby, don't be a sissy, don't be a, don't be a pussy, which is like the one thing they're always told. But that's not right, and if you're constantly being told that, that in itself is abuse. And so it's good to know that you can recognize that and say, no, I'm not comfortable with that. And you don't have to settle with that way of thinking. And there are like-minded people out there, other men that are like, yeah, that's shit. I don't think like that.
Yeah.
And you're none of those things if you cry, if you open yourself up to your emotions and make yourself vulnerable, because we're all humans. We all have vulnerabilities, and it's great that men can just say, hey, I don't find that acceptable, and not be rebuked for it by other men.
Yeah, absolutely. Brendan, are you okay with moving on to that list, or is there anything else that you want
Yeah, no, I'll throw one more thing in there. I was going to say it's a lot easier to say that you're not, comfortable with that whole societal expectation of toxic masculinity if you just add a little bit of I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I told you that was applicable everywhere.
Hey, Mary Poppins said a spoonful of sugar. Violet Castro says a skull goblet full of I don't give a fuck on ice. On ice.
That's brilliant. I'm sorry, Pat. I'm going to add one more thing, and then I'll move us on. But you mentioned that you were making sure that non-binary was going to be included, on the website and in the whole program. And the other thing I think you guys have done a great job is not saying here are the subsections that we're catering to. It's very much rolled out as we are open, we are welcoming, and if you don't feel included, don't run the other way. Please reach out to us and we're willing to listen.
Absolutely.
We're not closed off, we're not finished, we're willing to listen.
Yep, absolutely. And the sections we have, like in the reading list, we've broken them up, like indie writers, women of color, poetry. We've done a lot of that, one, so it's easy to find, but also then you can kind of scroll like, oh, I see this and this. It's just because if you had one long list just in general, it's kind of like, oh, so we wanted to make it easier. But if there is another section we need to add, it's costs nothing. And exactly, we want to include everyone. So and we're open-minded. So yeah.
And something else to add that I think it should be recognized is you and Sonora, and I'm not going to go into details. It doesn't have to be rehashed, but I think it should be pointed out. You guys spoke out during a really bad situation a couple months ago. You spoke out against it. I think you guys were pretty quick on that. I'm pretty sure you guys were pretty quick on that. And I just got to say, like, you guys have done the right thing before Fright Girl Summer, and I think it's commendable. So for anyone that is newer, before we go into the list, just because this is kind of on the same line as what we're talking about, Violet, for anyone that is a younger Latinx, you know what? Men could apply to this too, because I wasn't one of the guys that was like all for the shit that I don't like, but I joined in and said dumb things at times because I'm still a dumb guy, but I've listened and I've been open. So for guys that have been in my situation that will listen, or for other Latinx, for other women, for non-binary, any other underrepresented folks that, be it younger or just are older and just are not sure who to go to that might be listening, where do they start in case none of the stuff we just talked about for the last 30 minutes really gave them a foot into where to go to?
As far as their writing? Or...
As far as reaching out, I know that they can reach out to you or Sonora through Fright Girl Summer.
Yeah.
More specifically, for someone that's newer to the writing scene, what's your advice to getting started?
I think it depends on, what your, I think the HWA, the Horror Writers Association,
Mm-hmm.
is doing a great job. So they offer scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
The HWA website is really great. So if you are a member, there are different tiers. So anybody can join without publishing, and you can get on the newsletter. They have quick bites where you can submit news. They have an anthology, if you're a member, that they're doing now about otherness, which I plan on submitting to. And just recently, the Horror Writers Association is offering a diversity grant.
Oh.
So for librarians, writers, anyone who wants a career in the horror genre can apply for a $500 grant, and I'm on the committee to look at the applications. So I think the Horror Writers Association is doing a good job, even if you go at the lowest tier and work your way up, because you do need to sell stories and have a certain level of sales. But, again, anybody can join just to join for if you're a horror lover. So I think the Horror Writers Association is a great start. And yeah.
I would agree. I've seen a lot of good from that organization. Brennan, go ahead, man. I've talked long enough.
Yeah, it's okay. You're going to go back and edit out all those one more things and let me just ads, right?
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Violet, we wanted to ask, what are some of your, over the summer, over the last few months, what are some of your favorite Fright Girl reads?
Oh, God, you guys are putting me on the spot. Okay, so few things.
Yes, we are.
Basically, I've read mostly the stories that are on the website. But few things. In lockdown, somewhere in this house, in this mess of a house with all my kids, I've lost my Kindle.
Oh, no.
I've gone nowhere, and my Kindle is missing. So I had a ton of books on there. But I've been so busy with writing that I just have not had a chance. Also, with my children around, I've had to choose between writing or reading, and
right.
I've done the writing, and also I've had edits for books that are coming out, edits for short stories. So my reading is so awful right now. So I have only read Fright Girl Summer stuff. I also read Seeing Things by Sonora because I blurbed it, and that was really good. But I'm so behind. I just have not. The whole lockdown really threw me off. You think, oh, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to have all this time. I had no time.
I've heard that from other writers, and it makes sense. I write too, but I mean, I'm not at the same level as you yet, so I'm sure when that comes, it's going to be a lot of focus on one book that you're doing. That makes sense, though. Brennan, how about you run down your list? Let's put you on the spot.
I'm very proud of this, actually. I have a list. I'm not even going to run through the whole thing because I was looking at all the books I've read by female authors in the last couple months, and it's really long. It's we've talked about this on the show before, but it's just so damn easy in this genre because they're all winners, Probably the last one I read was Blood Lake Monster from Renee Miller in the Rewind or Die series, and it was freaking awesome. All the female authors in that series have been just so consistent, like we were talking about before. I think I was reading Let's Play White by Cheshire Burke the last time we talked. I was only one story into that, but I loved that collection. It's so resonant. I can't think of a better word. Yeah. I read All That's Fair by S.H. Cooper, was just absolutely great. Got to throw out Crossroads by Laurel. Graveyard. Nah, no worries.
What happened?
Your video is gone. No? You're back.
So, because I'm getting notifications, so I can't see, so I'm trying to push them away, and then I accidentally did something.
That's okay. So I'll throw out All That's Fair by S.H. Cooper was awesome. Graveyard Smash was really cool. Crossroads by Laurel I've thrown out more than once or twice. And I did get to dive into White is for Witching as well, which that was very interesting. It was written in a kind of transgressive style that I don't think I didn't expect going in there. It was something more akin to, I can't even really compare it to anything, but it was cool because it was so incredibly different than anything that I read this summer, and probably anything I would have picked up if I didn't grab that off of the list you guys put together.
Well,
Pat,
that's
how
great. Sonora did an amazing job, and you'll see she has a new list, and she did an amazing job as well. So I can't wait for you guys to see everything. I'm working on a little I might add a story on there or a poem, but it's not very horror, so I might have to horror it up.
Yeah,
I might have to horror it up.
I definitely can't wait for that list. Mine's not that long. I'm just not a fast reader. That's what I attribute it to. But I feel like I read a good amount. Read Laurel Hightower's Crossroads. Just so fucking good. S.H. Cooper's All That's Fair. That was my first time reading her book. Wow. I count this because it's I did read this in the summer. Your Hairspray and Switchblades. That was really fun. Just like all the Rewind and Die series. It's super fun. Just like Jessica Guess's story, Cirque Berserk, and then 2 short stories, Cassie Daly's Ready or Not on Yours. We also actually, me and Brian both beta read her story for We Are Wolves. A powerful story again. It just kind of made me feel sad. And then Elle Turpin, who edits for S.H. Cooper. I've beta read a couple of her stories this summer, and she's a name that I think you'd be interested down the line or at any point. She's very good too. Welsh-based, South Wales, and that's a perspective where I'm always learning new things from her because I don't know any other people from Wales besides oh damn. Help me out here, guys. The Silence.
Are you thinking of Tim Leben?
Yeah, Tim Leben.
Yeah,
I forgot forgot his last name, and it's a shame because I want to know more about that. And there's others. Nico Bell's, like I said, that's on my list soon.
She's a total sweetheart. Love her. She's
very nice. And then not to kiss up to you or anything, but I am very excited for what you got coming out, and I asked last time, but the Candyman Latinx version of that, like, I want that right now.
So the Queen of the Cicadas.
Yes. Such a cool name.
Thank you. La Reina de las Chicharas. That will be out June next year with Flame Tree Press. But before that, in March, you have Goddess of Filth.
Okay.
Which is with Creature Publishing. And both of those feature goddesses from the Aztec pantheon.
Okay.
So
now
2 goddesses that are very different. So the Queen of the Cicadas is very dark. I mean, it's very dark. And Goddess of Filth is almost like a coming of age. It's like Latinx The Craft meets The Exorcist meets My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hedrick. So, but Latinas.
So, are you a fan of the original Candyman?
Yes, I love it.
What about the one that's coming out, the trailer?
I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Nia DaCosta is a name that's newer to me, and I saw the trailer. Yeah, and Tony Todd's Candyman again, which is how it should be with these slashers if they're still alive. Like, why was Robert Englund, for example, not Freddy Krueger again? Or
I
Doug?
Can't wait.
Yeah, it looks amazing, and I can't wait to see what you do with it. And you saying something's dark, like dark.
Yeah.
I want to know what that's like.
It is, and I recently submitted a story it's probably the darkest thing I've ever written because it's kind of a modern take on La Llorona, but also mixes postnatal depression. See that comes out. It's yeah.
I never saw that I can't say La Llorona.
La Llorona, yeah, the original. Oh, so a new one came out.
Right.
That's set in Guatemala that everybody's raving about. I have to see it. And then the guy who did all of the, Annabelle and
Yeah.
that whole universe.
Oh, The Conjuring.
Yeah, the Conjuring universe, which I
Yeah.
like the Conjuring a lot. But
Yeah, me too.
they totally butchered their version of La Llorona. It was awful. It was really appropriated trash.
The Guatemalan one, I think that's exclusive to Shudder. Is that right?
Yeah, I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, I've heard good things as well.
I'm like looking for the perfect time where I can settle in. No one's gonna bother me, and I can just like
take it in.
it. Yes.
If you're anything like me, I probably get about 2 minutes a month where nobody's bothering me, and I could watch a movie. But
honestly, I have to wait until the kids are in bed, my husband's watching football, and then I'm left alone.
Okay.
Do you mean soccer or football?
Soccer.
Okay.
Soccer.
That's what I was going to ask.
Soccer.
The
soccer season is starting soon, so I'm like, yes.
So Brennan, actually, I convinced him to watch a movie, and it was Host, and I said, you're gonna want to see this, and he loved it.
Oh my God, I was freaking out. So
spoiler alert.
So on Instagram, so I'm really active in my Instagram stories.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, oh, I loved it.
It's so good
about it.
Yeah, it's so.
It's really short though.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, shit.
I loved it. Yeah, I don't know if you're aware, but we talked with one of the three screenwriters and two of the actresses, Haley and Emma, and I told this to them after. I told Brennan, I was like, never happened before, but I was so nervous, like I felt like a little kid just talking to someone that they're like in awe with, and they're just so fucking sweet.
It was amazing, that movie. I couldn't stop thinking about it after.
Yeah. I watched it. I had a rare moment where I had the house to myself. I watched it, and I remember I had my son, because he was with my mother-in-law while I was watching it, and later that night she dropped him off. My wife was at work. I brought my little boy. He's only like 9 months, and in my head I'm like, be brave. Be brave for your son. Look, that monster's not real. The demon's not real. And I shut all the doors that I wasn't for the rooms I wasn't going into.
It really freaked me out. It was like, wow. I have not been scared in a long time.
Yeah, and Brennan brought it up.
So that was nice.
Brennan, I believe, was the one that brought up Blair Witch Project. I don't think I brought this up, but I wanted to mention how it reminded me of Paranormal Activity in the sense where for the first one, I haven't seen the others.
The first one was the best one.
I just remember one scene two of them, where the wife, I think it was staring at the husband for hours. Mm-hmm. The other one that got me was the flower on the floor with the footsteps. So I've raved enough about that. I had a question, believe it or not. For Latinx filmmakers, do you happen to have a favorite or favorites, or maybe a film that does it right and doesn't appropriate Latinx people?
So there's a film out of Mexico called Here Comes the Devil. And it's an older film. It's really, I mean, the opening is like, okay, this is okay. I mean, it just kind of right from the beginning. Obviously, the graphics aren't like crazy. It you get that like kind of throwback 1970s, 80s horror, but it's really good. Here Comes the Devil.
2012.
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to look. Let me turn on my computer.
I've seen one that's 2012, directed by Adrian Garcia. It sounds like a Mexican name. Adrian Garcia Bagliano.
I think it might be 2012.
Caves in Tijuana, Mexico. That sounds like
yes.
Okay.
That's it. That one is crazy. And for Ginger Nuts of Horror, I also I reviewed there was a Mexican film festival, and it's called Feral.
Ooh, what's
And
that? Is that so? Obviously, it's in Mexico, but
yes, and it takes place in uh, the mountains of Oaxaca,
okay.
and it's incredible. And I interviewed the writer and director, and
Hmm.
it was fantastic. I'll just tell you, it was really great, and it's beautiful. It's incredibly atmospheric. 2018.
Can you tell me the title one more time, please?
Feral,
Oh, okay.
and it's like 6.8 out of 10. Andres Kaiser is the director. It's fantastic. It's really creepy. It's creepy beyond more than anything. It's creepy.
Is it okay? So I see a poster where there's a bite mark and an infection.
No, that's not it. It's 2018,
Okay.
and you have like a priest kneeling, and then like a wolf behind him.
Okay. Oh yeah, Andrea Kaiser.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that is
Very cool.
It's really cool.
So yeah, me and Brendan were talking about this with a guest. I've talked about this with a Shanghai-based filmmaker too, about how foreign films are amazing, and I'm just for the last few years have started to really love them, and I just find it mind-boggling when people are just like, I don't like reading while I watch a film. But like, what do you want? Well, you want dubbed because these are great films.
Yeah.
For a non-horror one, my favorite non-horror one would have to be Kung Fu Hustle. It's just super silly. But
Yeah.
I think my favorite foreign horror, well, I don't even know if it's horror, would be Parasite. Like that film blew
Oh
me
my
away.
God, I watched that, and
What'd you
I
think?
couldn't. I loved it. Everybody was raving about it, raving, and
Yeah.
when it ended, I was like, "That's what they were talking about." Holy shit! My mind was blown with Parasite.
I thought it was a horror. The poster looked like a horror. I just
No,
assumed.
it was just a really good movie.
Yeah, and the title, after, not to ruin it for anyone that might
Like
watch it.
suspense. I don't know if drama, suspense,
Yeah, that sounds about
drama.
right. But
Yeah,
when I watched, I listened to I mean, the title was like, that's what it meant. Holy shit! Because that I'll just say this, the party scene.
I think that film deserves all of the accolades. It was just, I couldn't stop. And I really actually enjoyed The Invisible Man.
Mm. Oh, I've heard good things. I haven't seen that.
I think the way it portrayed abuse was quite accurate. But speaking of foreign films or foreign shows, I'm watching The Rain now.
I've heard about that. That's where the rain infects people?
Yeah, it's out of Denmark, maybe.
Okay. You know,
and it was good.
I'm gonna butcher his name. I'm just gonna Google it real quick so I don't fuck it up. One of my favorite filmmakers is the guy that did Parasite, and he did another film called Okja. Have you?
Oh my God!
Have you seen that?
I've seen it more than once, and every time it makes me cry.
I'm not gonna ruin that either, but
I totally loved it. Okja is really good. It's so sweet, and you're like,
yeah. So, that did a lot for me because I got a little pig, 3 years old.
Oh my God, your pig is so cute. I've actually recently tried to tried to eat significantly less meat, just because of the way the meat processing plants are run, and just I think the food industry in general. But yeah, your pig is so cute.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's what it did for me too. I mean, I stopped eating, and just to be clear, I'm friends with people. I don't give a shit who eats meat. I just don't eat my pig. That's what I tell people. But just to talk about one scene with Okja, won't ruin it. But there's one scene where the little girl's walking out of the slaughterhouse, and the baby pig.
That was just, it was like, oh.
I want to write a story that focuses on how disgusting I think, and I think a lot of us view slaughterhouses. Because, like, it's so crazy to me. I ate meat for the first 29 years of my life, whatever it was. And it's crazy to me to think, like, we don't think about it, but, like, there's, like, huge amounts of, what was it, 100,000 cows are killed like every day. I think it was some crazy number. But there's actually a lot of work being done in Israel, for one, where they're trying to manufacture 3D printers that make steak that has the same components to taste and have the same texture as a
Yeah.
steak or other meats. And I think that gave me hope. And I'm not hoping like everyone stops eating meat. I don't care about that, but I do hope that we get to a place where we treat, because it's also going to help the environment. Um, I just kind of hope we get there eventually one day, maybe in
Yeah.
our lifetime.
No, I actually have made a huge effort to eat less meat. And when I do, I try to get meat that is responsibly sourced,
Hmm.
and try to um, and same with cheese, from small producers, small
Hmm.
farmers, that I know that the welfare of the animals are over a profit. But so to bring actually this subject around to stories and horror, I don't know if you guys probably saw it on Twitter. I'm co-editing Latinx Screams with
Yes, yeah.
with Cena, and it's coming out of Burial Day. There's a story in there from Hector Acosta, who you should actually get his book. It's quite small, and he's fantastic, and he writes a story about a meat processing plant, because a lot of immigrants are employed by these places, and they're treated awful,
Hmm.
just terrible. So
What's his last name? Costa?
Acosta. So I'm just gonna Hector Acosta. I'm just going to give you his, because I've drank a full glass of wine. My brain is a bit hard way. You need to get his book Hard Way.
Hard way. Yeah, I mean that.
Acosta, Acosta. So I have it. I need to read it. And it's a novella. It's a very quick read.
Okay.
So definitely get Hard Way. But his story is great. So I can't wait for Latinx Screams to come out, and you guys can check it out this winter.
That'd be, yeah. Sign us up for that shit. His user handle is Hexagon.
Yes. Because
Very
yes.
clever. Oh,
Yes.
hard. Okay, so I'm looking at his cover. Hardway. It looks like the mask of a Mexican wrestler.
Yeah.
That's really neat. Shotgun Honey presents. Is that a publisher? Shotgun Honey.
Yeah, Shotgun Honey. I believe Ron Earl is the editor of that. He's runs it.
Okay.
So it's an imprint of Down and Out Books, which published Angel Luis Colon.
Okay.
So he's another,
I'm familiar with him.
Yeah.
And just to bring it back to what we were talking about earlier, is I love reading Latinx because it's making me a better writer, beyond a better person. And I mean, call me naive, but I feel like and I know this isn't true, but I feel like you should have to be a good person to be a good writer, because you would have to, the way I see it is like, you have to be empathetic as a writer. Otherwise, how's the reader going to be empathetic?
Yeah.
So just kind of like that story that Hector wrote, like, I so want to read that. I just love animals so much, and they're so pure. Like, I said this with Jim McLeod in episode 2. Even a lion or tiger or an anaconda, they're just programmed how they are. They're not going to lie to you. Unlike people, it's crazy. It's so insane how we're so awful towards even trees. They're living and breathing.
Mm.
So that's my whole tangent. Just be nicer to the environment and animals. Brennan, can you anchor us to something that's not going.
Something that doesn't have to do with animal cruelty.
Yes.
Literally any subject. Okay. Yeah. Actually, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about the book you are co-editing with Sina. Now, that's coming out through Burial Day, right?
Yeah.
What was the genesis of that? What made you guys just put your heads together and say, "Fuck it, let's do this"?
Well, it was originally so. Well, I actually came up with the concept because I was like, okay, we have all these anthologies out. You rarely ever see any Latinx writers included, ever. You don't see Latinx main characters. It's non-existent. So I wanted to do an anthology of just Latinx stories. So I pitched Bronzeville Books, actually originally with the idea. They accepted it.
Uh-oh.
And then a lot of stuff kind of happened with Bronzeville Books. You guys
Yikes.
remember. I'm not going to rehash everything. But they kindly, we parted ways. It was amicable. It was, it was held very professionally. And I didn't want to bring any of it in social media. I didn't want to bring any of the authors. I wanted it to be totally clean, to preserve the purity of the concept and the stories. So I was kind of like, well, guys, I'm going to try to pitch this. Let's do this. And I just reached out to Sina, and she's like, let's do it.
She's someone that I'm starting to really love, and I haven't talked to her a whole lot, but fuck it, I'll just say it. Like, we talked to her, talked to Gabino. I know that you're friends with Gabino too. Barring any issues, and don't kick my ass, Brendan, but we're gonna have him on in November, and
Cool.
we can't fucking wait. Like,
Hopefully, that's not news to Gabino.
Well, I text Gabino and he said yes. So you know what? Might bite me in the ass where he's like, "What the fuck are you thinking, Pat?" No, but no.
That's cool. That means he listens. That means he listens to the show. That's great.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Okay, good point. Hey, Gabino. No, in all seriousness, though, I love listening to her too, and I think it's so cool how her and Gabino just like blew everyone away at Scares That Cares, and Brian he just kind of like talked about how much he loved the screenshot of his reaction to Cena's reading and Gabino's reading. That's awesome. Like, you got one of the biggest names in horror that's just, he's open-minded, which should say something to everyone that might not be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's wonderful. And Gabino's doing the foreword for Latinx Scream, so.
Oh shit. Nice. He is I see his name everywhere. Like, review-wise, author-wise, he's always pushing Coyote songs, which I can't wait to. Brennan was kind enough to send me a copy. Otherwise, I would have bought one before we had him on. But have you read that book yet?
Yes, it's excellent.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Brennan, sir, I seem to be very...
It really, really resonated with me. So, yeah, it was really good.
That's pretty much the that's what almost everybody I've talked to who read that says. So we are going to make it a point. See, now I'm throwing you on the spot, man. We are going to make it a point to read that book before Gabino comes on in November, which he definitely is.
You need to read Zero Saints is also excellent.
I have that on my shelf as well. Yeah, that's great. I'm going to try real hard to get through both of them.
That's really cool. I loved it.
I want to see more from him, and I did see the cover for Thunderstorm books of I think it was Zero Saints.
Coyote. Oh, okay, yeah.
Wait, was it Coyote songs? Am I mixing up?
Both of them, actually.
Yeah, both Coyote songs. Okay. I saw that one.
Mm-hmm.
Brennan, didn't you have a question about another upcoming upcoming book by V that I can't remember?
That is entirely possible. Actually, I was hoping you'd tell us a little bit more about Mestiza Blood.
Yeah, Mestiza Blood is my short story collection. And it is a mix of my life experience growing up Chicana in South Texas, folklore, urban legend, a bit of everything. And that will come out in 2022 with Flame Tree Press. So it's just, and I think we talked about this last time, or I mentioned it. I can't remember. Anyway, so there is a a story in there called The Final Porn Star.
Yes, we did talk about that.
That story is in there, and it's in between a short story and a novella. It's like maybe 16,000 words or something. Mm-hmm. And it's like my slasher / final girl twist.
Nice. What's it like working with Don Daria?
He's great.
He's a legend.
He's great. I mean, he is. It's funny because he read it and he was like, this is going to be a killer collection. And it just made me shake because I was like, oh my God. But I can't wait. And he's editing. I should be getting the edit soon for The Queen of the Cicadas.
Ooh.
And I actually, it was funny the way life happens. And this is a lesson for all those writers out there. So I pitched The Queen of the Cicadas, 100 times, sent it out to so many agents. I got really, really close in March and I was devastated when it didn't happen. And I was just doubting myself. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do I just shelve it? And an off chance, I was like, you know what? I'm going to send it to Flame Tree Press. Didn't expect anything. And not even like a few days later, Dawn emails me and I was like, whoa. And it made me feel good. I really had lost so much hope, and that story is so important to me. And the fact that, someone saw it, sorry, I'm getting really emotional.
No.
That's, I think being a Latina, that's what you want. You want to be seen and you want your voice to be heard. And when it is, it's almost like all of the doubt you go through, the tears, looking at other people, especially white authors, and being happy for them, but also saying I have this inside of me. I have this story. I've had these experiences and I want to share them. And I know other people have had these experiences and they just haven't had the opportunity to articulate them. And then to have that opportunity, it is so fulfilling. I can't even. So, I would say to anyone out there that has an important story, if you're from a marginalized community, please do not give up hope. Do not let the world beat you down. Just go for it, because you don't know what's around the corner. You just don't know.
That's true. And not just someone. Don, in my eyes, Don Daria is like the biggest it's like him and Ellen Datlow, for me, are like two of the biggest names in this industry. And he's in love with your story. Sorry, I'm putting words in his mouth. Say it's gonna be a killer. I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, especially his. But he had nothing but really nice things to say. That I'm just like, I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. It meant a lot.
And on a selfish level, I can't wait to read it because
Thank you. I can't wait to have it out in the world.
And sorry, Brennan, go ahead, buddy.
I was going to say, I think the best part of that is, first of all, I didn't realize you had 2 books coming out through Flame Tree. That's excellent.
Yeah.
But the best part of it is, that is a story that is, firmly tied to your roots and who you are. And not only is it coming out now, but it's coming out through a publisher that's tied to a Big 5. Like, that's going to get a lot of distribution, and you're going to see a lot of other marginalized voices who see this story get out there and say, I can do that too.
That's so important.
Is huge. Yes, exactly. I'm so happy for you. That's awesome.
Thank you. I can't wait.
Just push those books, because I'll just say it right now, we want you on the show back for a 3rd and a 4th and however many more times.
Absolutely. And I'm always into talking to people and boosting. And like I said, if I can help one person just to not give up and keep going. So, yesterday on Twitter, I don't know if you guys followed the news with this woman, Jessica Krug, who was pretending to be. Yeah. So I went on and I retweeted the diversity grant for the HWA. and part of the application was like, you need recommendations. And she was like, I don't have recommendations. I don't know what to do. I said, look, I'm looking through these applications, submit anyway. You know what? Just, you got to try. We take everything into account. And Hector actually made that point a few weeks ago. And I said, Hector, thank you for saying this. And I will absolutely consider this. And, so it's important, if I can signal boost these things, and thank you for the opportunity to reach other people and plant that seed, like, yeah, you can do it.
That's amazing. I really hope that someone that's looking for a right answer happens to hear this episode. There's been a lot of cases where we've had, this episode has been fun, but it's been on the more serious level, which I appreciate because it helps me too become a better person. Like when we talked with Philip Fracassi, the guy that put together Horror Writers for Black Lives That Matter, he had a lot of important things to say. Jessica Guest had a lot of important things to say. It's these episodes that I love doing and don't expect. I don't really know what else to add besides I appreciate your, and I'm not saying goodbye right now, but I just appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you. No, I appreciate it. I appreciate always, like I said, talking about horror and telling people not to give up.
Horror is the funnest. It's just...
It is.
You know what? I actually have a question that could have related to the very first question, but
okay.
Going back to what got you into horror, I'm thinking for myself when I was growing up, Brennan can probably relate because we grew up in towns that were real close to each other, and there's this, and I've talked about this on episodes, but there's this one thing called the Bridgewater Triangle. I'm from a place called Bridgewater, but it incorporates a lot of it's like 200 miles, 200 square miles, and it's just a lot of reported things that are strange. And I didn't experience much, but there was a lot of, we were near Salem too, so you hear a lot of witch stories and stuff. And they always creeped me out, but I always wanted more. And I was always terrified. Were you like that as a little girl? Like, were you just like, oh God, that's so scary? Or were you super into it?
Oh, no, I was super into it. So one of my birthdays, so in South Texas, and you're going to get this from Mestiza Blood, and I actually talk about it in the book. Sorry to turn on the light. There's a place called Donkey Lady Bridge, and I write about that. And basically, it's supposedly this woman who looks like a donkey because her hands and her feet are fused together like hooves.
Oh my God.
And it's actually real. And then for one of my birthdays, we went there. We went to the missions in San Antonio, which are supposed to be really, really haunted. I actually talk about them in Hairspray and Switchblades and other stories.
How old were you?
9, 10, 11. And then we went to the train tracks where if you put your car on the tracks, put baby powder on the back window, put your car in neutral, your car will roll over, and if you look, there should be handprints, children's handprints on the back of your car because where they've pushed your car out of the way.
Oh, that's creepy.
A school bus was hit by a train.
V, did you read about that one in one of your books? Because that sounds very familiar.
No. Don't. Did I talk about that? It's in. I talk about it in the Final Porn Star, and then I talk of Donkey Lady Bridge. Was part of it was on October Pod, and then the missions, they are mentioned in Hairspray and Switchblades, and then in Mestiza Blood, another story I take from a real place in San Antonio, is where the lady danced with the devil. And so, yeah, I was like 10 or 11, and all those things were like, yes, let me go see. I want to see it. Where are they? Conjure those demons.
That would be... I'm excited. Okay, well, before we move on to anything else, I meant to ask either one of you, are you guys fans of Guillermo del Toro? I always fuck his name up.
No, you came close, though, today.
I am a fan of Guillermo del Toro.
Absolutely.
I'm not a native Spanish speaker, so my my tongue is a bit blah, blah, blah. But
See,
yeah,
I was going to
do
say,
like
even if we get it right, it doesn't have that same flair on it. Could you say that again?
Guillermo del Toro.
That's
Can't do it.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't do it. So there was
No,
one.
I am. I liked
Did you Pan's Labyrinth?
his To Tell in the Dark Yet.
Oh, I think you cut out. What was it?
Hey guys. Oh, it was a bit
No
We got
problem. Okay. Hold up. Everything paused. Hold up. Not a big deal. 1 hour. 16
Oh, I see you
minutes.
now.
Yep. Not a big deal. I just
So
wrote down the
we
time.
lost you after I was a big fan of.
Oh yeah, his last film.
Antlers?
No. With the Hellboy character.
Oh, Hellboy.
You know the what was it?
The Shape of Water.
Yeah, The Shape of Water.
Yeah.
I liked Pan's Labyrinth. That was so weird.
That was wicked. I loved that.
And the scene. There's a scene where someone.
You know, the creature with the eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's a scene where that guy gets his nose bashed in with a gun, and it's just. Ooh.
I loved it.
He also, I have it somewhere behind me. I won't try and dig it out, but he co-wrote a novelization of that with, probably going to butcher the name, but I think it's Cornelia Funke. I think she's a YA author, and it's very fairy taleized. It's also illustrated, and it's a beautiful hardcover edition.
Wow.
And I think,
I liked The Strain.
yeah, that one I do have literally right next to me.
Yeah, I liked The Strain.
Yeah,
because I'm a vampire fan. So
yeah, those were down and dirty vampires. Those were cool vampires in that. I never saw the show, but I liked it.
I watched it. Yeah, I liked it.
I just saw that he's coming out with a stop motion Pinocchio, where it's a musical dark fantasy film. He's directing. Comes out next year.
If it's musical, I don't like musical theater stuff.
I'm curious what he's gonna do with it.
Yeah,
Ewan McGregor's in
I'm
it
curious,
too.
but I mean, I like music in a film or in books, but I don't like when you like stop and have to sing that you're like going to the barbershop or you got to get milk, and it's like you have to hit the high note to tell us that. I'm not into it.
That's fair. That's very fair.
Brendan, you want to go to what are you reading right now?
I don't know if we covered it already, but usually we when we wrap up, we are curious about what you're working through right now, what books you're in the middle of.
Well, like I said before, I've just been reading stories for Fright Girl Summer and then just focusing on the writing because my kids have just gone back to school.
Right.
I've had to choose between reading and writing, and I've had edits, so I'm so behind.
That makes sense.
I'm just reading these short stories.
Who are you, Brennan? Anything you want to recommend?
I was going to say that was kind of an unfair question, and we're just asking it out of habit since we talked about that.
Don't worry.
For 20 minutes earlier.
It's true. It's the truth, though. I'm a bad person.
No way, because you're going to deliver some good books out of it.
We also do it so that I can keep Patrick reading, because if every time we do an episode, he has to come up with a different book to talk about, then it makes him have to actually put in the work.
Yes, we'll get Hard Way by Hector Acosta.
I wrote down, yeah, absolutely.
And Hell Chose Me by Angel Luis Colon.
Okay.
That I have, yeah. I have not gotten to it yet. Like, all those shelves that are behind me are filled with books that I definitely am going to get to someday.
Yeah, I know. It's always just like...
As soon as life comes down, I'll be all over it.
There is one that I'm dying to read, but I don't know when I'm going to be able to get to it yet. It's S.A. Cosby's Blacktop Wasteland.
Yes.
That looks
everybody
amazing.
Everybody is going nuts.
Yeah,
I'm so happy for him.
Thing. Yep.
He just seems like a super nice guy, too.
Super nice.
Brennan, you got any final questions, sir?
No, I don't think so.
V, is there anything that we haven't covered that you'd like to talk about?
No, just I just want to thank everybody who has ever picked up my books, who've left a review, who's you guys, everyone else who's invited me on shows. Fright Girl Summer, check it out. I just want to thank everybody for their support, and that means more than you know. So, and if I can ever do anything to help anyone, I'm pretty accessible, and I'm a nice person.
Echoed. Yep.
Yeah. So I just want to thank everybody.
Where can people follow you?
Yeah. At V Latina London on Twitter and Instagram. And then vvcastro.com and then frightgirlsummer.com. So yeah, I'm around.
May your husband's football team play long and hard so you can write more.
Well, I can't write in the evenings. Just with the kids, I'm just exhausted by the end of the day.
Gotcha. I only got one, and it's like a lot of work. And I know you guys got a few.
I've got 3.
God bless you. V, as always, we always appreciate your time. I've loved everything you've said. It's benefited me selfishly, but I think it will help a lot of other people that happen to listen to this.
Yeah, I hope so.
So until next time, again, just extending this for any time. We want you on any chance you want. We got you.
Thank you so much, guys. Stay safe. And, stay safe over there,
Thank you, everybody.
We're doing our best.
Bye, guys. Thank you for listening. Take care and wear a mask.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Check out Fright Girl Summer and V on Twitter.